Good morning, Revolution. If you think it's, your eyes are bleary because it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you should stand here in front of the lights. My name is Scott Spencer. I am Associate Director for Advocacy and Influence with the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and I would like to welcome you to Revolution at 17. I wanted to start out just by, it's funny, in the past month with the Occupy Wall Street movement and actually yesterday with the dedication of the King Memorial, there is probably no better time for something called a revolution than what we have going on right here, right now in Washington. I want to share with you a piece that was something from Nicholas Kristof in yesterday's New York Times. And he's actually talking about inequity in America, and I think it's a pretty astounding series of facts. And he says, according to the CIA's own ranking of countries by income inequality, the United States is more unequal a society than either Tunisia or Egypt. 3 factoids underscore that inequality. The 400 wealthiest Americans have a greater combined net worth than the bottom 150 million Americans. The top 1% of Americans possess more wealth than the entire bottom 90%. In the Bush expansion from 2002 to 2007, 65% of economic gains went to the richest 1%. We need a revolution. I was, when I was asked to think about opening this conference, the person who actually invited me to do this thought I was going to get up here and sing something. Instead, I did go to look at some lyrics, though, and from the great songwriters and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. If you have any familiarity with Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation 1814, I'm going to give you just a little variant from her lyrics and make it apropos to this conference. And you should be thinking about this as you go along, because the words are actually right there. People of the world today, are we looking for a better way of life? We are a part of the revolution. People of the world unite, strength in numbers, we can get it right on time. We are a part of the revolution. Just keep those little factoids, that little piece of information, because it is about us uniting. 1,200 people here today, at this conference. Strength in numbers, dedicated voices. At 17, if revolution were a person, it would be joining the Facebook page of Occupy Wall Street. And it would be telling everyone who needs to know that it is time for a change. And so with that, I'd like to welcome you to the Revolution Conference. There are a couple things that we always like to share at Revolution. So as I said, there are over 1,200 registrants to this conference. The first person to register this year is Ron Stewart with ZGF Architects in Portland, Oregon. How fitting. 6 countries are represented here, including the United States, Australia, Canada, Italy, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. 197 cities are represented, and there are 4 states and the Great People's District of Columbia that are also in the top 5 numbers of folks here today. So DC, Maryland, Virginia, California, and Oregon lead the numbers represented to this conference. So congratulate yourselves on that. That's a pretty astounding outcome, especially given the fact that we are continuing in an economy that seems to be struggling and puttering along. So your voices here, your representation here is actually very important to this cause and this movement. My job today is twofold. One is to give you the boring housekeeping details, but things to keep you moving along. There are 3 full days in front of us, fantastic workshops, mobile tours, networking opportunities, and a few great keynote sessions, including the opening plenary that's coming up in a few minutes. Following this morning's session, there will be a coffee break in the trade show, located downstairs where you had breakfast this morning. The morning workshops will begin at 10 a.m., and those workshops are located either here in the lobby level or downstairs adjacent to the exhibit hall. At the close of the morning workshops, pick up your box lunch at the trade show and take them to your choice of a number of fantastic lunchtime opportunities to meet, greet, and network. Don't miss a chance to check out the bookstore, out past registration. I believe probably some of our presenters, their books are probably among those that you can acquire and purchase and read. Stop by and see the great interactive 3-day display of DC by James Roja. The New Revolutionaries Film Fest wraps up the day's formal events, benefiting the Coalition for Smarter Growth, which is a great DC-based organization headed by Stuart Schwartz, good friend. And I am also very happy and proud to introduce a friend of mine who, as of November 1st, will become the new Executive Director of Revolution, Dan Bartholomew. So now you see him, he's tall, so you can find him pretty easily. You can actually find out from him and quiz him and also tell him what you want to see happening with Revolution as we move along. Now, to our opening speakers. I'd like to introduce to you Councilwoman Mary Cheh, who will be introducing Mayor Vincent Gray from the great People's District of Columbia. Councilwoman Mary Cheh is committed to education reform, good government, environmental protection, ensuring the health and vibrancy of local communities, and serving her neighbors in Ward 3 and throughout the district. During her first term, Councilmember Cheh championed legislation that enhances the quality of life for all district residents, from the Payday Loan Consumer Protection Act of 2007, which banned predatory payday lenders from operating in the district, to the Clean and Affordable Energy Act of 2008, a landmark law that established a sustainable energy utility charged with reducing the district's energy use. In 2009, Councilmember Cheh became the chairman of the Committee on Government Operations and the Environment. In that role, she worked to improve the transparency and accountability of the district government while continuing her efforts to protect the environment and improve the quality of life for all residents. As well as serving on the council, Councilmember Cheh is a tenured law professor at George Washington University with professional experience working in the DC Council, the DC courts, and local, national, and international institutions of justice. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilwoman Mary Cheh.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Washington, D.C. We are delighted to be the host for this conference, and as you understand, we're very sort of interested in our own districts here in the D.C. area, as any politician might be, and so I should point out that this hotel and all of the environs are in my district. If you have any trouble, any problem, you see any potholes that are not filled, you tell me about that. Currently, I'm the chairman of the Committee on Environment, Transportation, and Public Works. And so recently, having moved over to that, transportation has become even more important in terms of my own work. I want to tell you something about how wonderful the District of Columbia is and how appropriate it is for you to be here today with this conference. We are, I think, if not at the top, at the very close to the top in all indicia of being green, being progressive, being a vibrant, living city with the future bright as possible, because we are committed as the district, as the city of Washington, D.C., to go into the future and restore the place, the preeminent place of cities in our national life. And we've been able to do that, and I think as you get out today, as you go around, you will see that yourselves. In terms of some of the factors that you might be interested in, particularly for this conference, 35% of households in the District of Columbia have no automobile at all. Half of the rest have only one. As Harriet Tregoning, the director of our Office of Planning, calls it, car light. More than half of the commuter trips in Washington, D.C. are by walking, biking, or by transit. The bike share system that we have, and you'll see that around town as well, is wildly successful, and it has 18,000 members. We have a situation with bike share, which is quite unusual, where with the members and with people who are using it in an ad hoc way, we are able to pretty much match the costs with the revenues that we engender. In other words, it's self-sustaining. We have a situation in the District of Columbia that I think is the envy of cities around the nation, perhaps even around the world. And it's only going to get better because the district has become a magnet for young people who come here, they want to work here, and then they want to stay here. Now, one of the reasons why they might want to stay here is the fact that they can live here without an automobile. And that becomes very, very important because student debt has now eclipsed consumer debt as the heaviest financial burden that young people face. And therefore, living without a car enables them to make their way. But it's beyond that. This city has become the center of ideas, of progressivism, of environmental advance, and it's the place where you go if you want to live a vibrant, culturally enriching life. And therefore, I take it you're all going to stay and move here after my talk, and therefore it's a delight for us to be able to host this conference. I'd like to introduce to you the mayor of our great city, Mayor Vincent Gray. Mayor Gray pledged to unite the district by focusing on job creation and economic development, collaborative school reform, safer streets and neighborhoods, and restoring fiscal responsibility to the government. He has pursued all of these things, and at the same time, he has pursued this overarching mission of making this a healthy, progressive, environmentally sound place to live. His participation in this conference is a perfect example of his desire to move the city forward and to rely on creative change agents such as yourself. The mayor has shown a tireless commitment to wean residents off of the automobile and ensure sustainable transportation options are available to all of us. He's recently championed a substantial increase to our investment in the metro system, both rail and metro bus. He has, in this time of economic difficulty, in our upcoming budget, he has added $100 million in capital money over the next 6 years to support our streetcar program. And he's also been involved in leading the way to make the district the first jurisdiction to commit to supporting additional funding for our metro system. He is at the advance of the advance. And the great thing about Mayor Gray as a leader is not only his own ideas, not only the things he individually champions, but the fact is he is a leader, and this is the hallmark, I think, of a real leader, who will listen and undertake ideas offered by others, which is why this conference is so important. He recognizes things that will advance the city and the nation and will undertake them even if he didn't think of them himself, because he understands that ideas come from many sources. So I'd like to give to you today our mayor, but only temporarily, our mayor, Vincent C. Gray.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the great state of New Columbia. I want to first of all, again, welcome all of you to the city, and I want to thank Councilmember Cheh for such a nice introduction. Can you imagine a person in the executive being introduced by a legislator in that fashion? And I want to underscore, too, what a great legislator Councilmember Cheh has been. She's been on the council. I was on the council from 2005 forward until I was elected, and she came on in 2007, and really has been one of the leading forces in our council of 13 people since she became a part of it. And I like to describe her as the go-to person. When you have a difficult task that you need performed to bring people together, Councilmember Mary Cheh is the person to be able to do that. So, Mary, I want to thank you for your continuing leadership here in the District of Columbia and for what you do to move the city forward. Thank you very much. Again, I want to welcome all of you to this conference. I hope some of you were here yesterday. What a great day it was in the District of Columbia as we celebrated finally the dedication of Dr. Martin Luther King's memorial, a 30-foot sculpture which is absolutely breathtaking. For those of you who haven't been there, I invite you to do that while you're here to see it. But we had tens of thousands of people who were in the city yesterday. And in addition to being part of the celebration of the dedication itself, one of the proudest moments for many of us was to see that we were able to reasonably smoothly move all of these people around the District of Columbia during the time that they were here. People were walking, they were using a variety of modes of transportation, which I think became a poster child, if you will, for what Volution is about over these next several days and the purposes for which the organization exists. Mary talked to you about the priorities we've established, fiscal stability, and working with the council, we've moved forward. I think we're actually going to have a budget surplus from the fiscal year that just ended, which is almost unheard of in this economy, in this nation today. Working a lot on public safety, working to improve our education system, and of course trying to get people back to work in an economy that has been very difficult, where we have an 11% unemployment rate. And in some areas of this city, on the eastern end, the unemployment rate is as high as 26%. But we recognize the inextricable relationship of transportation to every one of those priorities. And it's wonderful not only to be able to work with somebody who is committed and as capable as Mary Cheh, but also to have a staff of people working with me who, in part, through our Office of Planning, led by Harriet Tregoning, who couldn't be a better advocate, more vigorous advocate for forward-thinking approaches to transportation. Harriet, stand up, the Director of our Office of Planning, and be recognized. We like to think of ourselves as a transit-friendly city, and we're working every day to be able to diversify the modes of transportation in the District of Columbia. We are a growing city. At the last census, the previous census in 2000, we had 570,000 people who lived in this city, which at the time was the highest number in decades. And by the time we got to the decennial in 2010, and got the count just a few months ago, we had grown by about 31,000 people, up to 601,000, and that is good news for us. But the good news also is that we recognize in order to be able to attract especially young professionals here and to retain people in this city, we're going to have to be a transportation-friendly city. And so the bike share program that Mary talked about is one that is growing rapidly. We started probably a little bit over a year ago. I had the opportunity to go to Paris with one of our former city administrators. We went to the car show, and we took the time to spend an entire afternoon with the Verlib, where we saw what a bike share program really is. And for those of you who have not been to Paris, I suspect some of you have seen this, it really is an exceptional program to see so many people, not only in Paris but across Europe, using bicycles as a preferred option to be able to move themselves around. Again, as Mary indicated, we have 18,000 members, and one of the exciting things is it is a regional program. We're doing this with a city in Virginia, and we're looking to be able to expand it to the entire region because we recognize that transportation solutions are going to have to come to this entire region. We have what I think is still arguably one of the best subway systems in the world. We are now making new investments. The District of Columbia has committed ourselves to $50 million additional a year, along with Maryland and along with Virginia, and that is to be matched by the federal government, which will give us about $300 million to invest in the continued development and maintaining our metro system here in this region. We are expanding the metro system to go out to Dulles Airport, which not only will connect people with the method of transportation of flying from one city to another, but also will connect people with the growing job market here in the District of Columbia in ways that people simply can't get to at this stage. We also, many of you know, I'm sure, that several decades ago, we had a streetcar system here in the District of Columbia. And I frankly think, and I don't mean this in any disparaging way, because I'm sure those at the time thought it was a good solution, the District of Columbia got rid of its streetcar system, and it was a bad decision. There actually are some areas of the city that still have some of the tracks down. But we are now committed to bringing back the streetcar system to the District of Columbia. I've been out to Portland not once but twice to see the system out there, and it absolutely is a model for what other cities ought to be doing. I rode the streetcar system out there. I heard nothing but accolades about it. I well remember being on the streetcar system the second time I went out there. I was with the president of the system there, and the streetcar was crowded. And he was talking to me about the system, and this lady overheard the conversation. And she turned to him and she said, are you in charge of this streetcar system here? And I said, oh boy, here it comes now. And you could see the trepidation in his face. And he said, yes, ma'am, I am. And she said to him, she said, I just want to thank you for finally bringing the streetcar system to my neighborhood. What a great addition it has been to being able to create, transit-friendly options here in the city. You should have seen the relief on his face when she said that. And so we're committed. We're committed to a 37-mile system, investing $1.5 billion over the next 2 decades to be able to accomplish that. And we know that it will begin not only to tie our neighborhoods together in ways that they're not tied together now, but in addition, it will stimulate, hopefully, economic development in the ways that it has in cities like Portland. We also recognize that we have a taxicab system that needs a lot of work. I was talking to our taxicab commissioner, who was just appointed, talking to him yesterday, and we have an 8-point program that we're working on. And the first program is we are creating incentives for those who develop green taxicabs so that we begin to recognize the importance to our environment of these taxicabs that move about the city. So over the next several years, you're going to see a vastly improved taxicab system here in the District of Columbia that will have new equipment involved, more contemporary equipment, but most importantly, that which is environmentally friendly. And so as you work over the next several days, we want to thank you for coming to our city to be a part of this, to have these discussions here. We hope you will have an opportunity to interact with your legislators on the Hill. And I would just ask you one final thing when you do that, if you happen to meet with some of your legislators, and that is, would you mind letting them know that we would be happy if they would bring democracy to the District of Columbia? Isn't it hypocritical to go around the world fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and supporting those in Libya and Egypt when those who are sent off, oftentimes, if they live in this city, they come back to this city not able to enjoy the benefits and rights and privileges of those that they've gone to fight on behalf of? It really is unconscionable that we continue to be a place where 601,000 people don't have the right to be represented with a vote in Congress, that we have to send our local budget up to Capitol Hill to be approved, that we have to send all of our local laws up to Capitol Hill to be approved. So as you go, As you go and advocate on behalf of contemporary, forward-thinking, environmentally friendly transportation systems, ask them also to think about contemporary forms of governance that would ensure that every American enjoys the benefits of living in a democratic society. Thank you all very much.